Moors who were now going to be displaced by the dirty Venetians, who was going to use the wild cave people to basically bust up their kingdom and then assume their position. This was started by Ignatius Loyola and the so-called amalgamated Venetians. These talking about these people, the repression of our direct integral participation in world events and the financial remuneration that we're supposed to receive from them. So in order to get us to not do that from the beginning of, I would say from the beginning, but in our modern time sphere, we would say around the time of the New Madrid earthquake, which again was a worldwide result of the receding waters of the deluge that had been constantly been happening. And so afterwards, these people basically just walked into places that we already had. I'm gonna show you how ill it is. What am I trying to show you? Yes, just that comet is related to the blue plasmasphere burst that you seen over New York the other day. That's all a part of the same thing. She got it inside of a clock. But we're not doing the knowledge because we're still looking at ourselves through their eyes. We're looking at our eyes through the eyes of a caveman, and he's only not going to give us the story. He's just going to flip it. When they talking about the aliens, they talking about us. They say that they don't know who built the pyramids, but then when you read the actual documentation from the actual peoples that was there, you find out not only was they Muslims, but the people they say built it didn't. It was actual giants, and they put pictures up with it. I'm show you right now. The Africans practice genetic over there. They have a custom of self-genetic modification. You understand? And over here, we wasn't really all like that. Those of us that was like that were those of us that had those types of relations in our family tree. And sometimes for treaties and things like that, we would, unify with people to maintain. Everybody know Russia. Y'all know Russia. Y'all heard of Peter the Great. This Peter the Great. This is why they hate the Russians, because the Russians didn't go through the Reconquista. The Russians didn't go through the Renaissance. They kept all of the old stuff from when Byzantium fell. Because remember, when Byzantium fell, it fell to Muhammad II. Part of, well, look at this. That's what I mean with Moors. Like, we got to get on it. When you know the history and you accept your ancestry, you don't forsake one ancestor over the other. So yeah, these guys who were Hebrews, King James and them. There's a book called Primitive Black Nations by a guy named Rafinesque, who is also a piece of crap too, but he did keep it real with leaving a lot of the ancient information and names. Anyway, in that book, he talks about James coming to Andalus, getting the records, and then going back and having Shakespeare and his company basically draft the Bible by 1611 because he was trying to stop the dirty papacy. These ones right here. See these ones? See how you got the fez on? But then under in the tabernacle, he making the deal with the black devil. See that? So Shakespeare, the author was named, the book is called Primitive Black Nations. Shakespeare, who they call Shakespeare, again, put his essence or whatever in it. And what he was basically doing was writing stories about the fall of the Hebraic line of Moors who were now going to be displaced by the dirty Venetians, who was going to use the wild cave people to basically dress up their kingdom and then assume their position. This was started by Ignatius Loyola and the so-called amalgamated Venetians. These people who were acting, who were descended in some ways from ancient Phoenicians, like we are, but they chose to deny the soul. So their worship of Apollo, so they acted like Christians, but they was really pagans. So they would worship Apollo, and they would put on their buildings, they would put the winged lion with the wings. That's their symbol. So anytime you see that, that was the symbol that they adopted, because that was the symbol that the Phoenicians used to put on the front of their ships. You understand? Hannibal and them. So they're basically saying that we're carrying on this tradition of a trade empire. But unlike old Phoenicia, unlike old thing, at least with Phoenicia, they was actually also producing goods. They was producing things, and they were going around the whole globe as the direct descendants of everybody and maintaining the shores and the international trade ways of the world.